Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Noxious Masculinity. This is the home where we are putting an end to the battle of the sexes, and we're also putting an end to toxic masculinity. So, for our previous session, we were talking about staying focused but not getting lost at work. And then from there, we transitioned into your relationship with the feminine. And for the progress of time, we're going to talk a little bit about your opposite or your polar feminine. And we ended up talking about stop hoping for your woman to get easy. And a lot of times in life, we think that we work hard. And if you want to learn more about that, that was in the previous session that we had, part five. For today, we're going to continue about, talking about your relationship with. And I might turn a little bit of heads with this, and it may sound a little crazy, but to continue on with your masculinity, you have to understand that a woman always tells, and I know that that sounds crazy. And as even some women might even say, hey, he sounds a little crazy. And what I mean by that is that she may not always keep her word, but she is always being honest. And this is not to say that women don't lie, but what I mean by that is when you all are communicating for a woman or for the feminine, facts and words are secondary to emotions and shift. And so you as a masculine think that, my word is my honor and what I say is what I mean and this is how I overallly feel. And it kind of brings on the term that we probably heard before, which is all a man has is balls and effort. Well, when it comes to the feminine, there's a reason why she pops, because for her, she says what she feels, and her word is her communication of what's happening in the moment. And sometimes that's kind of hard to process. So basically, what that means is that when she expresses how she feels, she's talking about how she feels right then and right there in that moment. She may at 8:03 say, you know, I feel like this. And by 8:05, she may feel a different way. And this is not to say that what she said at 8:03 was a lie, but what she says is what she means in the moment. And it's not something that you should, look at as, you know, this is what you said. And so this is what you mean. And a lot of times that leads to arguments. I personally think that's the number one reason why men and women argue in their relationship because of this misunderstanding of communication. Because we tend to treat the feminine the same way that we would treat, our boy. And you have to learn in growing in your masculinity that the feminine does not operate on the same plane of communication. She expresses to you what she is feeling. It's what she feels right then and right there in that. She may say, right now, I hate you. And she's not lying to you. In that moment, that is exactly how she hates you. And in about 10, maybe 5 minutes later, she's no longer going to hate you and she'll probably love you because that is how she feels in that moment. And a lot of times we misconstrue that as men as an understanding that a woman tells you the moment and not how she overall feels. She expresses what she feels right then. And some rules of engagements that I've been able to pull from different sources on how to be able to deal with this, which is a bad way of putting it, but to be able to understand of how to engage when it comes to the opposite sex. So, your first rule when it comes to dealing with the feminine, excuse me, is unless love is flowing, unless she is in her full self and enjoyment of the moment and being her true self right then and there, and you will be able to see when she is fully present and fully being herself. Unless she is in that time, you cannot take what she says as concrete. It's not literal. Everything that she is saying is not something that she is meaning as a literal term, and this is exactly what she means. So unless she is in her full capacity of being herself, you have to take what she says with a grain of salt in some term. And sometimes that's hard for us to understand as a man, that woman is not going to tell you how she overall feels. So never take what she says as literal content of what she means, unless she is operating fully herself. And the next rule of engagement is understanding that if her feelings change, then you can, go ahead and assume that her mind is. And as an example of, let's say you picked her up and you were supposed to take her to get, had communicated that, hey, I'm gonna pick you up. We're gonna go. Something has happened within the matter of that time where she does not feel the flow of love at that time, and her mind will change because her feelings have now. And so, yes, she was hungry and she was expecting to eat, but now she is no longer hungry and doesn't want to eat. And that's because of her inner feeling and her inner guidance of being able to understand that, excuse me, things are not flowing the way that she feels that it would and should flow. Excuse me one. And so, because of that, that if her feelings change, expect her mind to change, and don't be so fully invested in, we said we're going to do this. And so this is what I expect us to do. And this will help you not get into too many skirmishes of, you know, the back and forth of not being able to understand it. From there, I would say, and what I've learned from others is that you don't base your plan on what she says that she wants. So, using the example of picking her up, she said that she's hungry, she's no longer hungry because of the emotion feeling. And a lot of times, as men, we become emotional as well because we thought that this is what we said, and now we're not doing it. And so we say, Evan, we're just gonna go ahead and go home and forget about it. Yeah. That is precisely what not, as you grow in your masculine and you begin to understand the feminine a little better, you know that, well, you should learn to be decisive. And so you said that you were going to take her to eat. She no longer is feeling the flow of love. And so now she says to you that she's not hungry. And as a man, you have to learn to not fall into her emotions of right now, but be decisive. Say, okay, you understand that she has had a change of mood, but what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we do what we said that we were going to do. And I'm going to go and get you something to eat. And if you don't want to eat it, you don't have to eat it. If you don't want to order, I know what you like, I'll order for you. And then when the time comes when you're no longer feeling what you're feeling and you begin to feel the flow of love again, then you will come back into who you truly are and the capacity of feel. But she is very attentive to the changing of ways and feelings of things. So you have to be receptive to her changing. And with this, you'll have to learn how to grow to understand your partner and understand to differentiate between her shifting mood and her sensitive wisdom to, the way, the vibes, like women are very in tune with the vibes, like even when we're not necessarily in tune with. And even if we don't necessarily think that the vibes that they're feeling are right, she's going to be in tune with them. And you have to allow her to have the space to be in tune. Because when you try to change that, you essentially are stealing her femininity away from. And so when it comes to these rules of engagement, the goal that you should have is to remember, and this is a metaphor that I use, is that remember that as a masculine, you are like a tree and your woman like water. And what I mean by this is that you start off in a certain way and you get nurturing and you grow and you become solidified in who you are. And the more solidified you become in who you are, you create this shell around you that I am who I am and I say who, and then you produce. And a woman is like water. She is constantly moving with the flow of life and the vibration of life. And as these things change, so will her mood. And you have to allow her to process. And, without the watering of her, you don't grow. And without you being that solid foundation that grows into the tree, then she has no purpose of having to give herself to anything to nurture. So remember that, a metaphor to keep in your mind. She is like water. She will move with the vibration. From there, you have to learn to understand in the growth of masculinity that men grow from challenge and women grow from praise, admiration, and lots, lots. And what I mean by this, as a man, when you were growing up, how you thrived was your friend comes up to you and he says, "Hey, bet I could beat you to that pole." And you go, "Nah, you can't beat that pole." And you guys bet on it. Okay, well, I bet you such and such that I'll beat you to that pole. And you're like, okay, well, I bet you I'll beat you. And this is what propels you to grow in who you are and become more accepting and appreciative of who you are and knowing what you have to offer the world is by these challenges that come to you in life. Now, the feminine, however, which is something that we all have to learn as masculine, is she does not grow the same way you grow. Water does not grow the same way that trees grow. And what I mean by this is that the feminine excels when she is supported and when she prays, has a feeling of admiration done for the things that she provides. And you want to, improve her. Like if there's areas of that you would say, okay, I want her to improve this area or that area. A lot of times as a man, you think, well, I'm going to give her information. And this information is going to help lead her into her growth because I know that when I get information, AKA like stats, things like that, or what science or what somebody says, this is what helps me grow. And you tend to treat the feminine the same way you would treat yourself. And that is where a lot of times it's masculine. We kind of, create this barrier between us because we lack the understanding of how the feminine grows. And in order to be able to improve her in areas, information will never work. And the only way to get your woman to achieve something or become something that you would like to see in her, uh, not saying that you want to change her, but as a way to help propel her into flourishing and blossoming in her womanhood and in her femininity and also in her life, you have to praise her and you have to be very, open and lofty with your praise. Praises is what motivates, people, not challenge. And a lot of times when you give information and the information ends up turning into a challenge for your woman to meet a certain criteria, and that is how you create resentment. The greatest way to add to your woman's source of being is to praise her and praise her as much as you can. And the more that you praise her, and the more that you show your admiration for her, and the more that you support her, this is what's going to motivate her to want to be the greatest version of herself. And a lot of times in life, she deals with different things that is always telling her what she can't be and how she's not able to match up to certain standards. And what your job is to do as the masculine is to support her and motivate her and let her know that is, you have accomplished things and you are doing a great job. And the more that you support her, the greater that she will become. You have to look at praise for a woman is like almost like food to her. And the more you praise her, the more you feed her femininity. And the more you feed her femininity, the greater she is able to become in self realization. And so, this is your job as a masculine, as well as, a woman having her job for a man. And usually, women are very in tune with their duty as a woman. If she has somewhat of a healthy mindset, she understands that her job is to challenge. And this is something that we've talked about in previous sessions where her job is to constantly challenge you and propel you to be something that you're supposed to be by setting up these challenges for you to meet. And she naturally does this. She automatically knows to do this. As a man, it's hard for you to understand because you grow up in a world that is centered around yourself and understanding that the feminine understands her purpose, but you don't understand your purpose, which is to praise her. You don't challenge her. You not bombard her with information. You want something to change in your woman, you tell her how good it already is. You have to look at her as though she is the finished product, not as though she is what she is. A woman's job is to look at you as you are what you are, but I see something greater in you. And as a man, your job is to do the opposite, which is I see you as the finished product, and that is what gets her to the finish. And hopefully that makes sense. And so, um, you know, a goal for you that you can have for yourself and something to keep for yourself as memorization is like one to find a woman that will challenge, but as well as challenge you, you want to find a woman that is also has the ability to nurture. And it's easy to find a woman that will challenge. Most women will challenge, but to find a woman that will nurture you as well, that is the task that you have at hand. And amongst understanding that, you grow from challenges, she grows from praise, you should express daily admiration and daily praise for her. And this will alleviate a lot of the insecurities that she has and a lot of the I guess content you could say with you that she would have. And this is how you break the barrier. So a goal for you is to find something within your woman that you would love for her to be better. And I guess that's a vague term to say, but let's say your woman isn't maybe the most healthy. Your way of being able to get her to be the most healthy woman is to praise her for the way that she eats. Tell her, man, I love your selection, how you eat. You're always being very cognizant of what you're putting into your body, and I love that. And you'll be amazed at, how well this works. And so the goal that I would say to have is at a minimum, at least 5 times a day. Find something that you would love to change about her. You would love to grow about. Compliment that on a minimum 5, 10 to 15 times a day and tell her how much you love that, how much you appreciate these things about her. Support her. Tell her how much you're proud of her for the things that she does. Even if you don't think that she does do these things, you tell her that because you're looking at the finished product of, and this is what's going to prepare her to be that because that is how, unlike yourself. So hopefully that is something that you can take with you and you can use in your relationships. And I hope that all of your relationships grow and flourish and you are able to be everything that each other needs. So that pretty much ends the session for today. And yeah, I think that this, something that is definitely needed talked about when it comes to growing your, because a lot of times as men we become self-absorbed in what we have to do, and we forget that the things that we have to do is not always for self; it's what we have to do for others. And your growth of your woman, you know, contributes to the growth. Hopefully that helps. A question of the day for last session was: is social media liking, commenting, or hearting, is that cheating? And my personal opinion on that is I would say it kind of depends on the relationship once again. I know I say that a lot and it's kind of vague, but basically I personally don't think that you should be in a situation where each other is not comfortable with each other doing. And so if you know within your and your inner compass tells you, hey, you know what, I kind of know that she wouldn't like, then you know that, hey, I'm doing something that's and this is cheating. Personally, I think that you should grow your relationship to a point where it's okay for you to have your autonomy of what you choose to do, but there's a certain amount of trust that says, I know where we stand, and you do that by the steps that we have said throughout, the session that we've had. And so as long as you are both on the same page of understanding of where each other is at, then you will know internally, you know what? This is something that I shouldn't be doing. Or my lady understands me enough to know that when I do these things, it has nothing to do with how I feel about her. That's my own personal opinion about things. I know some people may have a different opinion, but when it comes to these type of things, it depends on the trust that you have with each other. Some people have very healthy relationships where they're able to trust their partner, and some people have a lot of insecurities where they're unable to trust their partner. And a lot of that stems from the trust. I would say that you would need to follow your inner compass. The new question of the day is: who should be the leader in? And this is a very beautiful question. Um, because of the times that we're in, and we know that things are changing in life, and there's a lot more um, equality as well as being equal that is happening. Because equality and equal are definitely separate things, and a lot of these things coming into play. And so we are losing purpose and becoming more equal. And so, with that being said, who should be the leader in the relation? And I would love to hear your feedback. And like always, on the next session, I will give my personal feedback on that. The book of the day is The Definitive Book of Body Language by Alan and Barbara Pease. Um, it's a very, very good book to go with exactly what we're talking about. And what I mean by that is that you'll learn the difference between saying something and actually meaning something. Because you can say that you're happy, but if your body language says that you're not happy, Well, learning the difference between words and actual body language, now you're learning the different steps of communication. And so I think this is a wonderful book when it comes to not only dealing with the world, but definitely dealing with your partner and being able to understand when they say something, but they don't really mean it. And this is something that all men need to learn in the growth of their masculinity, as well as the feminine as well, because at times as men, we say things that we don't necessarily mean to. So it's a beautiful book to have, The Definitive Book of Body Language by Alan and Barbara. And as always, we will end the session talking about things that we can say to our soul and repeat to our soul, our self affirmations to help us grow in who we are. So, as always, you can repeat after me within your head or out loud. Come from the heart. I am. I am. Therefore, I am happy. Therefore, I am loving. Therefore, I am honest. Therefore, dedicated. Therefore, I am positive. Therefore, I am favored. Therefore, I am powerful. Therefore, wise. Therefore, I am understanding. Therefore, I am purposeful. Therefore, I will forgive myself should I come short of my ideal one day at a time. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you learned something beautiful. If you like it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you love to share with somebody, I hope to share with somebody. Men and women alike, we can all grow from that. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. Stay suave, safe. Let the church say, ah, lady, good. My span